Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from the Las Vegas Metro Chamber. On the broadcast today, Howard Stutz joins us. He's the executive editor of CDC Gaming Reports for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
The holidays are upon us, a time of celebration, family gathering, and gratitude. There are gifts to be wrapped, feasts prepared, love shared, and memories made. Life is precious, so let us cherish each other and all that we have. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We thank you for letting us enrich your lives, and thank you for your support throughout the year. Happy holidays.
RANNV.org.
Hello, is this D&D Roofing?
Yes, it is. How may I help you?
You did such a great job on my roof. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner.
Oh, can I speak to your supervisor?
Sure.
How may I help you?
I love your work. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner. We're all owners. Well, that's why at D&D we work so hard to keep your home safe and sound.
Oh, no wonder.
D&D Roofing and Sheet Metal. Local, employee-owned, here for you.
Truck drivers are some of the hardest working people you'll meet, delivering over 70% of America's freight and 92% of Nevada's. When there's a natural disaster, they're delivering critical supplies to help those communities recover and rebuild. Every sector of the economy and our nation's military rely on truck drivers. So let's take a moment to say thank you. On the open road or city streets, our truck drivers are rolling to make our economy and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
Nevada Newsmakers tapings in Las Vegas are brought to you by the Las Vegas Metro Chamber of Commerce.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from the Las Vegas Metro Chamber. And we're always delighted to welcome back to the program Howard Stutz. He's the executive editor of CDC Gaming Reports. An exciting time in gaming in this country, and a phenomenal Nevada story, which is Eldorado Resorts is taking over Caesars Entertainment. The process is already well underway. And I was at Caesars Palace last night looking around going, holy moly. And, we've seen these giant mergers in the past of smaller companies taking over much larger ones. Cap Cities, ABC, Disney taking over ABC, Eldorado now taking over Caesars. When Harrah's took over Caesars, it was not particularly pretty. There was certainly some resentment on the Caesars side of this smaller company taking them over. What do you make of the current situation?
Well, what's interesting is Eldorado is not that small of a company anymore. It started out small, with the one casino that the Carano family founded, but it's grown to 26 properties nationwide and in about a dozen or so markets. Caesar's obviously much bigger, about close to 30, 40 properties, and a lot of the same markets. The biggest challenge they have right now, they got shareholder approval last month in November. We knew that was going to happen. There's got to go through all the different state regulatory approvals, different state, including Nevada gaming regulators. The question is going to be what markets are they where they have a monopoly issue, an antitrust issue, to get past Federal Trade Commission, and that's where the biggest questions are still underlying on this. Eldorado sold several small casinos earlier this year, or put them up, or announced the deal. They haven't closed yet with Century Casinos, buying 2 in Missouri and 1 in West Virginia. They've sold a casino in Mississippi and a couple other smaller properties. The market here is Lake Tahoe, and right now Caesars has 2 of the properties in Lake Tahoe. The 3, or 2. Let me get back up here. Harrah's and Harvey's. And Eldorado ended up acquiring Mount Blue, which is actually the old Caesars Tahoe. So, there's going to be, that's a challenge market on what they're going to have to divest. Most likely the Mount Blue will get sold. But it's going to be an war of attrition. You're going to see a lot of change within the corporate structure. Not so much at the property level, and that'll be, they're going to adopt the Caesars name, which is, I found that kind of fascinating. And they're going to grab onto the Caesars Reward Program, which is, the old Total Rewards program from Harrah's. So
which is huge.
It's a huge program. Millions, I think 55 million people are in that. Now they're going to add the Eldorado customers into there. this is not. It's going to be a year shakeout to really get to see where they want to go. I mean, Tom Reek from El Dorado has said very clearly they want to cut about $500 million, in synergies they call it. It was actually cuts. A lot of that's going to come from sales of the properties. A lot of executives are going to be gone, from the Caesars side. So it's going to be a real change. It's going to be a change in culture. And these usually take a while to work out. So we're going to be about a year to see how this kind of shakes out.
El Dorado has been very strong in saying that this company is going to continue to be run from Reno, and I don't see how that's possible.
Well, they'll have a presence down here. I mean, you're going to have some type of presence in Las Vegas and Caesars has a lot of there's going to be a lot of office space here in Caesars that the company has outside of the different properties. They have some buildings they'll probably get rid of. But there will be some presence down here no matter what. And they kind of said that. There will be some type of presence in Las Vegas. But yeah, it's going to be run out of Reno, and that's where their home is, and that's where their corporate headquarters are.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious to see how long that's going to last.
We'll see.
Just because of the concentration of properties on the Strip and how big they are.
Well, now they've also said, now remember, there's 9 Caesars properties on the Strip. This is what El Dorado doesn't have any, and they're acquiring that. They're acquiring those properties. Rio is already, we know, is going to be gone. Caesars has sold the building to a New York hedge fund that's going to operate. Then Caesars is going to operate at least for a year, and it's really a year's time just to keep the World Series of Poker at the Rio. Caesars ain't going to sign on with that. That's going to go away after a year. I think the other property most likely to be sold is Planet Hollywood. I've had people tell me they're going to sell everything south of the Strip.
Why? Okay, so why Planet Hollywood? Because it seems like that's a successful property.
It's a nice property, successful property, but let's look at the Caesars properties here. You're not going to sell Caesars Palace. You're not going to sell Harrah's. Link is the Link Las Vegas is. They're all somewhat connected. Harrah's, Link, and Flamingo. So it's kind of hard to sell that. You have to sell the whole process, the whole conglomerate. Cromwell doesn't really move the needle. They might sell that just because it really is just a small boutique property, but doesn't really move the needle. The only one then sitting out there, you have to. Bally's and Paris are connected together, and I think they still operate under one gaming license. So you have to sell them together. So the only one out there still is Planet Hollywood, and they can probably get a good deal for it. Get a good, Tillman Fertitta is still out there looking. There are other companies looking, so they might do that. That might be the change.
All right, so now it's time to talk about Phil Ruffin. Now, at 85 years of age?
84.
84.
Maybe 85, I don't know.
84. We'll give him credit. Most people are kind of thinking of relaxing. Phil goes ahead and buys Caesars. The first question is, with the amount of cash flow that Circus Circus is throwing off, why would MGM want to do it except for getting cash to, increase the stock price? It seems, I don't know. It just seems to be so short-sighted to me. Of course, it's not my money, so what do I know?
Yeah, for MGM is two things. MGM is taking that money, it's going to put it right toward paying down debt in the company. That's the main emphasis on that. Circus Circus was sort of like the stepchild. They were never it was never really part of the MGM family. They never put it in the M Life program.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was never put in the M Life program. Now MGM developed that corner site as a festival grounds, but it's, how many times can you use these festival grounds? So it makes sense. Phil, now it's a land deal for Phil.
Of course it's the same reason. It's 100 acres.
It's over 100 acres when you have the RV park. Remember, they took away part of the RV park when they built these festival grounds. Circus Circus still, the cash flow it throws off, it draws a lot of families from Southern California. So it kind of fits in with the Treasure Island. Now remember, Phil has young kids, so maybe it's a big playground for his kids there. They still have the Carnival Midway there. But
he owns the former Michael Jackson house.
Right. It could, that land deal, whatever happens on the north end of the Strip, the convention center is going to open in 2021. We'll see whatever happens with the Drew, the old Fontainebleau. Morello's redeveloped, Sahara is now the Sahara again, and Morello's redeveloping that. There's a lot of happening on that north end of the Strip. So maybe, it's a land play for Phil. Same way he did this in Miami just recently when he bought that that small casino in Miami. Now he's talking about they're going to William Hill's putting a race book in there with the idea of maybe it'll become a sports book down there in Miami, 20 miles from downtown Miami. So that's what Phil's looking at. We'll see what he ends up doing with it. But for MGM, it was a deal that made sense. They want to bring down debt, and this was a one way to help bring down some debt. Just take that cash, put it toward debt repayment, and be done with it.
I remember talking to Phil about New Frontier, and he said to me it was always a land deal. It was 38 acres, and it was always a land deal. And obviously, the returns were phenomenal on that. He's talked about redoing Slots of Fun, but says not to improve the rooms at Circus because you can't raise the rates there. So I thought that was kind of interesting as well.
Yeah, it's funny that sometimes the rates at Circus the room rates are lower than the resort fees. So I mean, yeah, that's a true statement. So it's a real that's like one of the last value-oriented plays on the Las Vegas Strip is Circus. Like I said, for families that come in. So I think that's what he's looking at, and he'll do some things with it. I'm sure he's going to clean up some things. He'll bring in, put some CapEx into it that MGM hasn't, in the last few years. So we'll see where it ends up going. It'll be kind of fun to watch.
To say the least. The MGM itself selling off the land beneath Bellagio and potentially MGM and other properties certainly raises obviously billions of dollars in capital they can, as you say, go towards either debt repayment or investing in other projects. But as I talked to somebody else who is a gaming executive, he said to me, the problem is if there's a recession, there's no place to borrow money because you've given up the value of the property in the land. You're now just leasing the building. And I thought that was a very important statement, especially when you consider what happened to MGM during the Great Recession when they almost went bankrupt.
Right. And what's interesting, that's kind of the contradictory statement to what Jim Murin said. I interviewed him for the Nevada Independent right after the sale was announced. And he said by not having all that real estate, it's helping to reduce their balance sheet. He's called it a fortress balance sheet is the term he's used because it's recession. He believes it's I don't know if the good term is recession proof, but it's to keep the company safe during any kind of economic downturn. And that's the way he's looked at it. By bringing down debt, you still have the cash flow coming in from the casino. The rent payments are somewhat minimal when you think about it. I mean, they're selling Bellagio for the land and buildings for $4.25 billion to this real estate investment trust that MGM also owns 5% of. So they still keep a 5% ownership in there. Plus, there's also the fact that what Jim said, I thought it was real interesting. MGM bought all of Wynn Resorts or would have been Mirage Resorts at the time for about $6.5 billion. Now they turn around and sold one of those properties for $4.25 billion. 10 years later, 10, 12, almost 20 years later. So it's it's an interesting what you see with the value of the land. Plus the rent is low, $245 million a year, and it's still probably the most valuable property on the Strip right now is Bellagio. It still brings in the biggest, most amount of revenue in for any property on the Strip. So it seems like a good deal right there for them.
Do you think at some point Blackstone is actually going to own the lease to the entire Las Vegas Valley?
They remember in April they put Cosmo up for sale, and then all of a sudden now they've done this deal. So I don't really know. I mean, these real estate trusts, they don't want to own things forever. They may have this long lease with it, but they don't really want to own this forever. And I could see Cosmo being sold here at some point. So we'll see where it goes. But yeah, I know that's the thing about real estate. These big hedge funds, they grab it onto it, try to build up the value in the real estate, and then sell it at some point.
Phil Satry on this program said of Kirk Kerkorian, he never fell in love with his properties. He always knew when it was time to sell.
That's a great line. That's a great line.
More with Howard Stutz when we come back.
Tamarack Junction is South Reno's hotspot with over 450 of the latest slots and video games. Sully's Sports Bar, the Dining Car Restaurant, William Hill Sportsbook, and the Tamarack Steakhouse and Lounge. We're just north of the Summit Mall in South Virginia. Yeah.
Because of UMC, there's a wide open road ahead of me.
Because of UMC, she can grow up with her twin sister.
Because of UMC, I'm here to help you.
UMC, the highest level of care in Nevada.
Hi, I'm Eric Robnett, owner of Home Energy Experts. Has this ever happened to you?
Honey, did you remember to turn down the thermostat?
Forgetting to set the temperature? Not fun. We can help. Our new smart thermostat keeps the temperature set for your comfort all by itself.
I'm feeling hot now.
To increase your comfort, go to homeenergyexperts.com for details. That's homeenergyexperts.com.
The signs and symptoms of cataracts can start out small with subtle changes in your vision. So don't wait. Be proactive and take your vision into your own hands. If you're experiencing the onset of cataracts or just have questions, contact your eye care professional or call Eye Care Associates of Nevada today. Dr. Hiss has years of experience specializing in the surgical correction of eye disorders and has completed over 84,000 vision correcting procedures. At Eye Care Associates of Nevada, we'll change the way you look at the world.
The Tamarack Junction Steakhouse is known for signature steaks, handcrafted cocktails, and world-class wines. Join us Thursdays and Friday nights from 4:30 to 6:30 in the Steakhouse Lounge for live music, gourmet plates, and well-priced wines, just north of the Summit Mall on South Virginia.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Howard Stutz. He's the executive editor of CDC Gaming Reports. So I was talking with Jan Jones about this, about Japan. Obviously, she is incredibly knowledgeable about this. And one of the things I raised with her was that seemingly we're not saying no, but we're not saying yes about Japan for Las Vegas Sands. Is it really worth the $10 billion investment? Can they make their money back? And there was a Union Game, not Union Gaming. There was somebody else that did a report, and you may remember this off the top of your head, who said that there's overbuilding in Macau at this point. Mm-hmm. And so as people start to put more buildings in there, can they get their money out of it as well? So can you put those two things together?
Well, it's interesting because Macau just had their second worst month of the year, and they're going to have their first yearly decline since 2016. I mean, they're already through November. There's no way they're gonna make it back in December. So Macau's gonna have its first decline, but everybody's still bullish on Macau going into next year. And Jan is extremely knowledgeable on Japan. Spent so much time there with Caesars, and obviously we know El Dorado pulled the plug on Japan.
For now, she says.
For now, okay. She says for now, but we'll see what if they get back in. Sands, if you listen to the earnings call, and I did in October, they were very cold about Japan. Rob Goldstein was just saying, he's the president of Las Vegas Sands, and he said, it looks like now the asking price is $10 billion, maybe even $12 billion. They could build 3 or 4 casinos and properties in Macau for that money. Can they get the return? And it just seems like Sands is really wavering now on Japan. It's not going to happen for a few years. The first place that probably looks like it's going to move forward is Osaka. Sands announced they're out of Osaka. They're focusing on Tokyo and Yokohama. MGM is all in on Osaka. But Sands, they're also focusing a lot of effort. They announced earlier this year, and they started hiring some people on New York City. New York, under their gaming referendum that passed a few years ago, New York City was the last place for a casino, and they said the license would come around 2023. Sands is trying to push this up now, and they are focusing heavily on New York City because they can see the return on investment of a casino convention complex in New York City much better than the return they could see in Japan, they believe. And I think that's where they're headed. Now, if they can get New York to move up the timeline, then it's a smart bet. We'll see but I think they're very cold right now on Japan. They've really kind of, they've kind of put the brakes on what they're doing there and what their interest is in Tokyo, in the whole market.
And again, that gives another indice to MGM and what they're doing in terms of the amount of money they're going to invest.
MGM is full on. They've spent a lot of time in Osaka. They have a lot of. They've said they have one partner they've announced, and there's other partners that are involved in Japan in Osaka. So that's really a direction the company has taken. They're not building anymore in Macau. They have the two properties there. They finished the MGM Cotai, and that's operating forward. Wynn is investing more into Macau, non-gaming, and obviously Las Vegas Sands is spending about $2 billion to turn the Sands Cotai Central into the Londoner. They're also spending about $3 billion in Singapore to add more hotel and more non-gaming into the Marina Bay Sands, which is sorely needed there, the capacity. So that's where their focus seems to be.
All right, we'll take another break. More with Howard when we come back.
Dimitri Prine here for Design Outdoor. Are you a homeowner who's interested in remodeling or building a home? At Design Outdoor, we can show you how adding natural or manufactured masonry stone can add beauty and value to your home. And we refer only the best contractors. Our store and backyard are located at 11600 South Virginia, just north of DeMonte Ranch Parkway. Visit designoutdoor.com or call us at 851-9499.
Hey guys, are you watching the game at a friend's or the bar again because you can't watch at home with your wife? Or worse, because she kicked you out and kept your couch, your flat screen, and your kids? What's the one thing a man needs when he loses a good woman? A good lawyer. And when he loses a bad woman, he needs a great lawyer. What makes a good woman a bad woman? You tell me. You're the one that can't watch the game in your own home. I'm men's rights attorney Marilyn York, and I represent men in divorce, custody, and family law matters.
Hi, I'm Dave Newman. Remember me? I used to be the house detective, and now I'm a realtor, full-time at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates. A lot of people ask me, how's the market? You know what? It's fantastic. If you're even kicking around the idea of buying or selling, give me a call. Let's talk about it. Call me at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates and just ask for the guy who used to be the house detective, Dave Newman.
Everyone is talking about opioids, but they're not the only drugs that can be harmful if taken in large quantities or not as prescribed. You also need to be aware of side effects from anxiety drugs, muscle relaxants, sleep aids, and stimulants. Mixing prescription drugs with other drugs or alcohol can be dangerous. If you take an Ambien with a glass of wine, it may be enough to stop you from breathing. Prescribed drugs can be just as dangerous as illegal drugs. Take medications only as directed.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Howard Stutz, executive editor of CDC Gaming Reports. So MGM lays off all these executives as part of their getting to their budget goals. And then all of these top executives end up at Resorts World, over at the Drew, which to me gave great credibility, Bobby Baldwin being over there. So we now know that is a real project that's moving forward. What do you make of all this?
Well, Scott's. They didn't have Bobby's been out for a couple of years now. So he retired, I think, in 2017. So he's been out a while. Tan, rested, and ready, whatever the old line is. But it does give the Drew a little bit more credibility that Bobby's going to go over there and build it. I mean, he built City Center. In the middle of everything.
Not a bad resume.
Yeah, so it's pretty good. Scott Sabella, that's the one that surprised me that he didn't have a non-compete.
No kidding.
But unless it's you get around that through because the Resorts World Las Vegas, where he's now the president or GM, it's not operating yet. So he's not working for an operating company, an operating property. So, but he's building it. Plus, they've also announced they've kicked it over. Remember, they were supposed to open in December 2020, or by December 2020. It's now into 2021. So they're taking their time with it, which is actually kind of smart. No, it's added some credibility to those projects. Bob and Scott Sabella hired a whole bunch of former executives from all over town, to come in and be on this management team. So we'll see where this ends up moving forward. They're starting from ground zero, without a database. It's a real challenge for them. Same with Drew.
But Resorts World has their database.
Their database in other markets
and around the
sure,
globe.
They'll bring those in. The Drew obviously doesn't have any database. I think it added a little credibility there. Scott coming in over there has added a lot of credibility to the resorts world. So we'll see where these move forward from.
Yes, and the Resorts World focus seems to have taken a 180-degree turn.
Right, it's not completely this one big Asian property. They're going Asian themed and everything. They're going after trying to hit on that north end of the Strip to bring more people on that. You'll get a lot of people there in those first waves because everybody wants to see the new property is the way it always is. But then you got to see if it delivers, and that's going to be the big question.
So is the real question here that has Macau, Singapore, Cambodia killed the Asian market to an extent in Las Vegas?
Not really, because it's still, I think
we got about 15 seconds.
What's killing it right now is I think the trade war in China. That's been a big problem. It hasn't killed the Asian market. It's still coming here. We still see high baccarat numbers, on the Strip. We just saw that in October. So, we'll see.
Howard Stutz, always a pleasure to have you on the program, sir.
Anytime.
Thank you so much. And we'll be right back.
Nevada Newsmakers tapings in Las Vegas are brought to you by the Las Vegas Metro Chamber of Commerce.
A bird's eye captures its surroundings at different heights. At Brian Culpa Photography, we can make your imagination soar over buildings, parks, cityscapes, and beyond. Brian's images tell the story and get the job done. If you need a new perspective to tell your story, contact Brian today. Brian Culpa Photography. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com.
Hey, Dad? What are you learning? This place is great. Huh? You gotta try this.
Wow, this stuff is great. People are gonna love it.
Yes. Yes, they will.
One of the most psychologically damaging things parents can do to children in divorce is disparage one another, which is why I can't believe I even have to make this commercial. Half of your kids' genetics come from this person you're spewing hate about. Your children have the right to love you both, but more than that, they deserve to love themselves.
Marilyn York might be a men's rights divorce attorney, but this is for every selfish parent. Shut up.
Take a look at Pro Group Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, Pro Group can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, Pro Group moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
As always, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers 24 hours a day at nevadanewsmakers.com, or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll see you on the next broadcast.